to my channel. This is part 3 of the gearbox. I have some comments about the main shaft, the main axle. If it's possible to show it how I dismantle it and build it together. Unfortunately, I have lost the footage, but I'm working out something to get the main axle to do a video about it. Maybe in the future I will show it. It's difficult to find the main axle, but for now we just going to put gearbox together, and I hope you learned something. Here we go. Now we're getting ready to assemble the gearbox. First of all, don't forget this one. Like I said, the conic way down to the differential. The flat surface has to be on the other half of the gearbox. Put some grease again on that spot where the bearing is going over, the roll bearing. We grease that a little bit up. These distance rings, normally you have to measure up to keep the differential in place, to get the joy here away, but like you see, it sits in place and I really don't have any joy here. If it sits too low, you would see that this little gear will stays a little bit on place, but here you see the minimum I turn, it turns also, so I don't have play. That's a good sign. If you do have play, it's better to get your gearbox to a shop to refurbish it. They will put new ones in. Normally they are hardened, so it's very hard to wear them down. In my case, this car was in very good condition mechanically. Just need a little bit love, but at the end I'm very happy. Okay, now we put some sealing on it, and here you can choose. I have Prime Seal. It's like Permatex, but it's the same. For the gearboxes, I use the same as I used on the splash plate. It don't need much. Only to keep the oil in. So you distribute a little bit, not too much. Like always, don't go over the top. It's only need to fill up the gaps, the little places that are not flat, but that's minor. Of course, degrease it first. At the front it don't need, you can do that, but it don't need that because the oil is not running there.
And in a later stadium, if I have troubles with the gearbox, I can open it very easily. It's a very good sealant. I'm using this for more than 20 years with Mercedes trucks, so it has proven that it's a very good sealer. It's about, I guess, $16 or $20 for one volume. Now we're gonna spread it out. You see it's all already spreading it out by its own, but and because it stays in this condition for days, you can go for grab a meal, I just forgot something. Maybe it's a good idea to seal up this one. A little bit too late, but I will turn it in place and then it will be sealed very nicely, like this. And it will keep the oil in, that's for sure. I'll sit that back in place. But that's it. Now we're getting this on top. I hope I don't forget anything. You can try it to get it as far as you can of the roll bearing. By hand. And otherwise we're going to give it a little bit help here. Searching for those pins, but everything looks fine here. So we're closing it up. Get getting those bolts in. I grease those bolts firmly because if the water gets in, it will not rust. Like this. This is where the brackets comes in to hold the cable for the clutch. This bracket sits here. That's one. Greasing up the other bolts. Then tighten up the whole gearbox. Let's tighten them up. Already did that one. Always make sure that it stays very smoothly. In this case it is. So I'm very glad. Again, don't go over the top, just snug it well. Yes. 15. It's a 14 millimeters nuts and bolts. That. Now we're getting the bolt in for the starter. So this is the bolt that gets here. Yes, but therefore I have to grease it and use the nut trick. Like this. You have a long end of a wire and the cord and a short one with threads. So it's the long one that goes in. Tighten this up. And some grease. Now, put that in place. Just snug it, not too hard again. nicely in place. Now, to get the nose on, I have kept the old gaskets. They're meant to be to seal up, and I had two. Always keep the old ones. Why is that? That's because sorry. That's because you get 3 sealings. You have to measure up how many is it together, and then you take the gasket that's the same. So I had here about 0.3 millimeters with the old ones, and the new one 0.3. So I will use this one, and for the end play of the largest axle, you need those little gaskets. So this is the old one. If I measure up, 0.3 and that's the same measurement that I take like this one. Otherwise it will not be sealing. So I took 2 and I got a measurement of 0.3. Now, to assemble this, I have to montate this studs here, but then it will be difficult to get some sealing on. So I first will do the sealing, then I will do the threads, and that's the way to work easier on it. So if you look at it, you can see where you have to put the sealing on. Here. Not too much, of course, just like the same with the 2 halves, but enough to seal it properly. Make sure that the surfaces are degreased. So you get a good sealing. Don't worry about the sealing that is next to the gasket. It will not harm the gearbox. And that's it. Now we make it smooth. You see it's a thin layer, it's not a thick one. barely see it. Okay. That's done. I will put in the threads. Same deal again with the nuts. That's 13, but the nuts that goes on, there are 14. A little grease. Let me make sure you get all of that. Yep. Let me take the other key. Now we're putting this in. Same deal. Don't go over the top, otherwise you will crack the case. And that's not what we wanted. So I will speed it up because I don't want to bother you with the same deal. So a little speed up here. We're gonna put on the gasket. That's one. Here there is a hole. It's not lining up very well, but in the old gasket it didn't have a hole, so I don't mind if it's like that, yes or no. Oops, I was going too fast. Let me take this off again. Be very gentle with the new one. And it's raining again. Last year we had already sun, but now it's pouring down. So these gaskets need to be here. You see, they drop down. So what I do is put some little omnivit to it that will keep them in place. Just a slight bit here, here. That's one. And that's two. Now we can place a maybe a little bit here. Keep them in place also. Put this on. Like that. Now we have the nose. So as you have seen, I have put already the, they call it the hockey stick. That goes in there. Yeah. First of all, a little bit of sealing too. Make sure the surface is degreased and the oxidation layer is off, because it's not aluminium, it's like magnesium, so it gets darker. So get that off, and we put the sealing on. Just in here, not too much. Okay, rub it open. It's done. Do some grease on the bolts so they don't rust over time, and you get the nuts very easy off. Okay, so the sealing is on, the gaskets are on. You have to close it, but first of all, I have put some new bushings in it, you see, and the sealing is on my hand. First of all, you have to put this in there, and what I like to do is grease these up a little bit, not too much again. A second here. Just like this on the other side too, back. And that will help in the beginning. So put that first in, there. And that's in place. That's the whole the nuts and washers. And over here. And then we close the gap, of course. And you see the sealing is coming out, but that's not not a problem. Just wipe it off. The sealing will do his job. And that's closing up the gaps and keeping the oil inside. That's it. Now we can clean up the sealing. This is the rubber sealing. It's underneath. There are two. So I grease them a little bit. And there's another one here. That's 19. A lot of extra sealer. I have 3 caps like that. This is to get the oil in. That. And the 2 others are on the side here. Just like that. Okay, those are the final touches. And this is how she looks now. Beautiful. This is the number here, and I guess that guy was a little bit too lazy to put a line in there to get an A, but it's A-402973. Just like new.